podcast for a brief nocturnal intermission with your hosts, Kyle and Nico.
Anyway, Kyle, you were telling me about the D&D movie that's coming out, I guess?
Yeah, Chris Pine just signed to star in a new D&D movie from Paramount.
What is there any details on it? Whether we know what he's gonna play?
No, not at all.
I
think all plot details right now are being kept under wraps. But I can't imagine someone like Chris Pine starring in a D&D movie.
I feel like just the thought of a D&D movie just kind of ruins what D&D is. It's made up on the spot, and I guess you work through campaigns depending on how into it you are, but to me it's like, isn't that just Lord of the Rings? Isn't that what a D&D movie would be, is just Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that's the thing. If you keep it all within like the game setting, then yeah, it just becomes another fantasy movie. I think if they're smart about it, they'll have something where it's like the rapper is kids playing a D&D game, and the actors in the setting will talk as if they're being talked through by the kids.
I think that would be interesting. Something kind of like Jumanji, but with D&D instead.
But the thing is, Chris Pine, to me, is not a good actor for this, because I feel like for the D&D fantasy setting to work, you want actors with like extreme bodies, right? You want somebody like The Rock, or Terry Crews to play a barbarian, or you want somebody really like slender to play an elf. Yeah, but Chris Pine's just kind of that middle.
He's just like a normal body type. There's nothing wrong with that, but like he's not. I guess he could play like a rogue,
like a human rogue,
or an elf,
or a human anything really. But I mean, that's not what makes D&D interesting to me.
Well, and again, I think it just sounds more like a Lord of the Rings movie with the Dungeons and Dragons name, which just seems like it's meant to capitalize on Dungeons and Dragons and kind of coerce people who, like you and I, who are into Dungeons and Dragons. I also feel like it's really popular right now, so it feels like a cash grab. It doesn't feel like,
I mean, it is,
but I guess it's just kind of sad because it's a cash grab that could very much flop if not done correctly, because Dungeons and Dragons, I think, is kind of sensitive to how you use it. And it could also just, it's not going to destroy Dungeons and Dragons. Like, the people who like Dungeons and Dragons are going to still like Dungeons and Dragons, but it could also put a ugly spin on an otherwise like fun role-playing game.
Right. And I mean, if they keep it all in the fantasy world, it's like you said, it's just another Lord of the Rings. Like, how are they gonna handle things like skill checks, combat? Are they gonna put like a D&D spin on it, or is it just going to be like a fantasy romp through a fantasy world with D&D terms thrown in there?
Well, and Dungeons and Dragons is so built on what you're doing behind the imagination, like you said, like everything you're doing on paper, like the skill checks, the numbers, the D20 dice rolls, like what happens when you get a nat 20, because I think that's kind of the fun part about D&D. And if you take all that out, it's just another boring fantasy movie. It reminds me a bit of like some of those other Disney movies, like Haunted Mansion, that was just like nonsense. Or, I mean, I don't remember if the actual game was connected to Battleship, but do you remember that movie Battleship with the Rihanna starred in?
Yeah, and that was connected to the game, because the bombs that the ship throws out are coincidentally shaped like the pegs from the game. Wait,
really?
Yeah, they're shaped like a cylinder with a tiny cylinder at the end.
Do you think that worked? Do you think there were any like diehard Battleship fans who were oh, I have to go see this fucking movie because it's got Battleship in it?
I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah,
is Battleship popular enough to capitalize on a movie?
Well, and I didn't understand. I don't know if they were trying to capitalize on the fact that this is such a weird thing to do. I thought it was a joke for the longest time, because I didn't understand why you would have a Battleship movie based on the board game having nothing to do with the board game.
Yeah.
With Liam Neeson and Rihanna, two of the weirdest. I mean, Liam Neeson isn't that weird for like an admiral or whatever he played in it, but Rihanna, I feel like that was supposed to be like, oh look, Rihanna's in it. Look, isn't that neat?
I mean, as far as she could pull off a sailor,
Well, and I don't think she is necessarily a bad actress. I don't know, but what a weird premiere of her talent,
Right.
a weird B movie.
I just remember, I never saw the movie, but I do remember the trailer where it ends with her going boom. And I thought, without seeing the movie, I thought that was her only line. That would be her only line in the movie.
That would be kind of funny though. Could you imagine if you were like a mega star, you were in the trailer, but that was literally the only thing you did was say boom?
I'm sure you'd still get a fat paycheck.
You would for sure get a fat paycheck. I mean, anything you do, you'd get a fat paycheck at that point. At Rihanna status.
Yeah.
You want to talk about underrated movies, Kyle?
Yeah.
Grandma's Boy. I feel like that
You think
didn't.
that's underrated?
I don't feel like it got the love it deserved.
I don't either, but honestly, on reviewings, it's kind of lost its charm with me.
Really?
Especially, one, it's really dated,
I mean, that's true.
and two, it's a very like it's not realistic with how video game development is, and it's the older I get, the more stark it becomes.
I think that's why it's fun though. I think it's fun because of its like suspension of disbelief.
Right.
It also has that other woman who it was in Everybody Loves Raymond that plays his mom. I never remember her name because she reminds me of Betty White, but she's not Betty White.
Whose mom? Cloris Leachman.
Yeah, Cloris Leachman.
That's not Cloris Leachman. I also forget her name, but I know who you're talking about. The grandma from Grandma's Boy.
But I also I think she was a good pick, and she just makes me laugh in that one.
Yeah.
Do you have any movies that you feel like are underrated?
I don't know about underrated. I do have I have a movie that is almost universally disliked that I love, and that's Biodome.
It's Doris Roberts, by the way.
Biodome with Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin. It's one of my favorite just dumb comedies.
I don't think I've ever seen Biodome. I know what Biodome is. I'm familiar with it, but I don't think I've ever seen Biodome.
I've watched it recently, and it, at least for me, holds up. I'm like, I know why people don't like it, but to me, the premise is really good, and there's a lot of parts or a lot of jokes that I personally love. But yeah, people just seem to universally not like it.
Do you remember when Stephen Baldwin was an actor?
Yeah, now his kid is married to Justin Bieber.
Is that who Haley Baldwin's dad is?
Yeah.
I don't. It's hard to keep track. There's a lot of Baldwins.
So Stephen Baldwin is Justin Bieber's father-in-law.
He also plays Barney in the live-action Flintstones movie.
He was Barney in Viva Rock Vegas. The Barney in the first Flintstones movie was our buddy Rick Moranis.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the same Rick Moranis who got punched in New York early this year, and he deserves it, that child shrinking son of a bitch.
I'll teach him to shrink his... You think the person who hit him yelled that?
No, I think there's video of it. I think he was just some crazy guy who was walking past Moranis and just clocked him.
I mean, real talk though, I think out of all people to hit, Rick Moranis is probably... Why? Such a nice guy. He quit doing his job so that he could raise his children.
Right. By the way, I don't actually think Rick Moranis deserves to be punched. He's a very nice man. It was just a joke, people.
Are you sure you have all those posters with his eyes crossed out with X's in your bedroom? And
does it matter that he's on just a list on my wall that a lot of names are crossed out in lipstick?
Yeah, with a bunch of red string going to maps.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Oh, okay. I do feel like there's a lot of other Hollywood actors that deserve to be punched before Rick Moranis, though. He's like last in line.
Like who?
I don't know. I can't think of...
So I guess there's nobody.
I guess, you know what?
Do actors ever really deserve to be punched? Like, when's the last time you heard an actor doing something that was punchable?
It's been a long time. Yeah, who was the last actor that you remember being in like trouble, like being drunk in public or like doing crazy shit?
Like Me Too'd.
What was the guy in SWAT's name? He was the main character in SWAT. Girls loved him in like the late 90s, I want to say, early 2000s. Colin
Farrell.
Is it Colin Farrell? Yeah, I feel like Colin Farrell got in trouble a lot, but that's the last person I remember.
Well, I think it was for being drunk. I also know that he had a sex tape when apparently he has a pretty big donger.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty big donger.
But yeah, I don't think he got canceled or anything. I do like the part.
Well, of course he didn't get canceled. He's got a big donger.
I like the part in Minority Report where he gets shot and killed.
I don't think I ever saw Minority Report.
Oh, it's really good. It's a sci-fi movie with Tom Cruise.
What would you rate it in stars?
On a scale from Cinemax to stars, I would rate it an Encore. Is Encore even still a thing, or were they the ones that got bought out?
I think they got bought out, but I don't know. I don't do a lot of like TV or late night stuff.
Yeah, I don't. I only use like the streaming services those channels put out. I can't watch random movie channel, right?
Yeah.
I think it's because we live now in an age where movies that are at our disposal at this point.
I only watch ABC Family.
Is that real?
Yeah, 24/7.
Are you excited about the countdown to Christmas thing they do every year?
Yeah, I love the countdown for Christmas.
Oh, really?
It's what I live for.
What movie did they play last night?
Honestly, Kyle, I leave my TV off.
What movie did they play last night?
I leave my TV off until Christmas, and I turn it on to ABC News.
You're not a true fan.
Don't interrogate me right here on this podcast. How dare you, Kyle? In my own home.
When you claim things like this,
what?
That you watch ABC Family's countdown to Christmas and you can't even tell me what movie they played last night?
They played Harry Potter.
That's probably true. Which is a great Christmas movie.
It's for sure. Do you count any of the other ones as Christmas? You know what a good Christmas movie is? Die Hard. Absolute banger of a Christmas movie.
I know you're only bringing that up because I don't consider it a Christmas movie, but I really don't want to get into this debate because I know you're just going to keep going like it takes place at Christmas. There's other reasons that they would be having not a Christmas party, but they would be having a party and most of the building wouldn't be there. Half the building was under construction anyway. So that's one reason it was empty. Oh, but the terrorists had to rely on it being Christmas. Did they? There's literally no other situation that people could think of. I get it. It would be a different movie. But so would Lethal Weapon. If you take Christmas out of Lethal Weapon, you could still have a Riggs and Murtaugh story there.
Yeah, but the whole movie doesn't take place over Christmas. Die Hard takes place completely over Christmas.
Well, it's not over Christmas. It's
like before Christmas. Yeah. It's pre-Christmas.
But again, I feel like Die Hard does not rely on... Like, if Christmas did not exist, Die Hard itself could still exist. If Christmas didn't exist, Elf couldn't exist.
Well, would Die Hard be as good?
Yeah. I mean, think of it. It's a one man against a siege in an office building.
I guess.
Here's the thing. The litmus test for Christmas movies or not Christmas movies is if you took away Christmas, if it didn't exist, could the movie exist? Now, I will say Die Hard is way on the edge of that litmus test. But I consider it on the other side of Christmas movie.
But if you think about it, the whole reason he's visiting is to see his children on Christmas. So if Christmas didn't exist, then he wouldn't be visiting his children, and he wouldn't be in that building. And if he wasn't in that building, then he would.
That John McClane is such a bad parent that he would have to have an excuse, like it being a holiday, to go see his children.
I mean, there's definitely supporting belief in that. Like in Die Hard 4, his horrible relationship with his daughter. So I mean, there's definitely some.
Well, his daughter was a whore.
Yeah, well, there's some reasons to support.
I'm sorry, are we talking about the same Die Hard 4 where John McClane is in a semi-truck and he goes against an F-35 jet?
Yeah.
Is that the same Die Hard we're talking about?
Yeah, that's the same Die Hard we're talking about.
Is that the same Die Hard with Kevin Smith in it and he's a super ultra hacker?
Yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
Did you not like that movie?
I really didn't.
What movie do you like?
As far as hacking movie goes, I think the 90s were the top. There was the 1992 Robert Redford film Sneakers, which was real great. It was all about like social hacking and non-conventional hacking. And then there was
what is social hacking?
That's like where you say, I think there's actually a different word for it. I can't remember, but it's like, say you call up somebody who works at a company and somehow you're able to convince them to like give you information that they're not normally supposed to give you. Or say you show up someplace with a badge that you've handmade and you go back into the building with all the smokers, let's say, of the office building, so you can gain access to that office. So you're kind of using social...
It's almost like a spy kind
of. But, you just kind of use... Because, nobody... How to put this? I don't know. Like, really, a lot of people don't question things. As long as you look... It's one of those things where it's like, if you're carrying a ladder or a clipboard, then, people will think you belong.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how a clipboard is a status of power or knowing what you're doing? Like, you could be the dumbest motherfucker in the world, and if you carry a clipboard, you are like 2 points smarter than you were without the clipboard, at least.
I think nowadays it's replaced by iPads.
Yeah,
a lot of people are carrying around iPads.
But if you filled like an iPad with just like, I don't know what you would fill the case with, but if you filled the case with like styrofoam and you just rocked around looking like you knew what you were doing, people would take you seriously.
Every once in a while you scroll.
Yeah, you like scrolled and made people think you were on an iPad. You'd be important as fuck. What other good are all your movie favorites in the 90s, by the way?
I mean, yeah, probably. That's, when I was a kid. The other hacking movie would be Hackers in 95 with Angelina Jolie and some guy I can't remember the name of. I think that was one of Jolie's first movies, and she looked pretty good. She didn't look like she does now.
Yeah. Joe Rogan was talking shit about Gone in 60 Seconds. Do you hate that movie too? Or
I've never seen
am I alone?
It.
Okay. It's not a good movie in this. I think, first of all, it's Nicolas Cage, so you gotta like take it with a little bit of grain of salt. I think we talked about this at one point.
Hey, he's a national treasure.
He is a national treasure. But
he's a national treasure too.
It's about stealing cars, and they steal cars, and he's got to save his brother and shit. And the plot is thin at best, but it's just a good movie to watch, and it is I feel like it's one of Angelina Jolie's earlier movies too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I feel like I'm starting to feel like I'm alone in liking Gone in 60 Seconds, because it is one of those movies that's like trash but good trash. Right. Those kind of like. I think they were late 90s, early 2000s. I don't know when Gone in 60 Seconds came out.
I think it was about 2002.
You think so? Really? That late?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, you're probably right. I lose track.
Maybe not that late. That does sound a little bit later for it, but...
You know what 90s movie was really good?
It was apparently a 2000 movie.
You know what 90s movie was really good, though?
What's that?
I really enjoyed, that I stumbled on accident in the early days of Netflix streaming? Airheads.
That's a great movie.
Airheads is an amazing movie, and
It's got a really great cast.
I'm not sure if I was born when Airheads came out.
Possibly not. I think that's a 92 movie. A lot of good people in that, though. There's Reggie, Kathy, obviously Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi, yeah.
And yeah, it's just I like I always forget what the song is that they play, but I always remember.
It was 1984.
1984?
1994.
Oh, 94. Okay,
yeah.
So we were alive. But I remember the song they play in that movie is really good. I just can never remember it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what the song is. I don't remember.
I mean, it's probably just a generic pop rock song from the 90s, but those are always catchy.
But I also, I like a couple of things about that movie. I like that Adam Sandler isn't really the front man of the movie. He's like the fucking doofus, and he doesn't have a whole lot of lines. I mean, he has lines. He's one of the main characters, but he doesn't have like Adam Sandler leading lines.
Right.
Because I think Brendan Fraser is the one who he plays like the leader of the band. Yeah.
Isn't Kramer in that movie?
He might be.
He's like sneaking. I want to say he's like sneaking into the radio station.
He's either sneaking in or he was like the radio host or someone
sneaking out.
Yeah, something like that.
But it is him.
I'm not 100% sure.
I seem to remember it's him, and that would have been like right smack dab in the middle of Seinfeld. So that's, I guess, not surprising, but I wouldn't have expected it.
I think the other thing I like about that movie is the absolute absurdity, because a lot of Adam Sandler movies are crazy, if you really think about the plots of most of his movies, but
I like that.
I know, but the insanity of like a band taking over a radio station. They don't even have, I don't even know, do they have guns? I don't even think they have guns.
I think they have like a fake Uzi.
Yeah,
or something like that.
And they take over a radio station, and then it gets out of hand, and I think it ends with them playing a concert in the parking lot.
Well, I mean, that, and then it switches to them playing a concert in jail.
Yeah, I think they make a deal, if I remember correctly.
Right. Well, I remember the thing is the radio station was going to change to like easy listening, and most of the staff didn't know that, so they kind of got on the Airhead side. So that kind of, I think that helped them.
They like turn the tides.
At least cop a deal, where in the end the radio staff were like, hey, we don't want them punished too much. I don't know if that's exactly how it happened, but I seem to remember they didn't get, long prison sentences.
Yeah.
But yeah, Adam Sandler movie plots. I was thinking about this the other day. They're goofy, but I think they're pretty well. They're coherent, and there's like you can tell kind of the plot.
Yeah.
So like, take Happy Gilmore. It's about, a hockey player who needs to make money. He finds out golf gets him a lot of money, and he also finds out that he's extremely good at golf. And his grandma needs money.
Yeah.
Or like Little Nicky, the devil's son. The devil has 3 sons, and 2 of them want to take over hell, so they go to Earth to do the apocalypse, and the devil's 3rd son needs to go stop them. But the thing is, he's a dimwit.
That is by far one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies.
Little Nicky.
I saw that one kind of later in life, I guess. But I think it's one that I picked up when like pirating was really big.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Little Nicky was a good one. But the thing I think is funny is people, I guess, around 2012-ish, started shitting on the movies he was making. I don't know when Jack and Jill came out, but right around that time, he was making like bad movies.
Right.
But I don't know if anybody understands or realizes that he's always made bad movies. I mean, Jack and Jill was definitely probably on the worst list, but most of his movies are usually, this is dumb, but I'm going to keep watching. This is funny. Some of them are better than others, obviously, but
yeah,
he has a pretty consistent content. I think it just, his audience changed a little bit, or who he was marketing to. And I think that's kind of where people are like, oh, he's not funny anymore.
Right.
He was considerably not funny depending on which age range you were in, and you just happened to be in the age range that you thought he was funny.
Yeah, like in the 90s, it seemed like he was going for the kind of stoner, late teenager, early 20s kind of crowd. And then as he kind of got through the 2000s, they started to become more family friendly.
Yeah.
And now I think they're just kind of generally geared towards families.
Well, that's kind of like The Rock,
fine.
too. The Rock did kind of stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, like when he made Walking Tall in 2004, and he totally kneecapped that guy with a wooden beam.
And then fast forward to the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
Like,
why is, like, I guess it's the juxtaposition, but that seems to be a thing. Like these hard, these big actor guys have to do like one movie where they're with a little kid.
That's true.
Like the Vin Diesel and the pacifier.
Yeah.
That was such a weird movie. You remember when they suddenly come with the side plot of like, hey, we found a Nazi armband in this kid's locker, and you're like, what?
Wait, what? No, I don't remember that one or that part.
So the family he's looking after, the dad was killed, right?
Yeah.
And so the teenage son acts out, and he's like the coach at the high school is his enemy. Like the coach just does not get along with him whatsoever.
Yeah.
And eventually they're like, hey, some of my guys were looking through his locker. Why? And we found this. And he just throws like a Nazi armband at Vin Diesel. And he's like, this is sick and blah, blah, blah. And the kid has dyed his hair blonde. So you're thinking the worst, like he's a white supremacist now because his dad is dead.
Yeah.
So then Vin Diesel follows him, and it turns out he's playing a Nazi in a production of Sound of Music.
Yeah.
But like,
weird.
Seems like just a weird twist. Yeah.
That movie was weird because there was like a scene that I remember. It was like supposed to be these cool push-ups where Vin Diesel just has his legs spread on like 2 stools, and he's like doing push-ups declined. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's so cool. But then I tried them, and they're fairly normal. Like they're a little harder, but in the movie it made it seem like he was doing just the craziest exercise.
Right.
But he did like fairly normal exercises. But I do, I'm trying to think of if there's anybody else who's been in like family friendly movies who
I know Hulk Hogan did one in the 90s. I can't remember the name. And I also know Shaquille O'Neal. He did, Kazam or Shazam, whatever that movie's called.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Kazam.
I think is it?
I see. That's the thing. People get this mixed up all the time. People like to think that Sinbad was the genie and not Shaq. And then they also call it. I want to say Shazam instead of Kazam. I think Kazam is the name of the movie.
It's weird because I do kind of like I picture in my head Sinbad being the genie, but I think he was in another like kid movie. I think he was in a similar role, just not a genie, but I think he was in a movie.
He was in Good Burger.
Was he? Who was he in Good Burger?
He was Kenan Thompson's teacher, who Kenan Thompson runs his car into on the last day of school.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
that's right.
So he's like, he's the one who's like, I hate to put another brother in jail, but if you can't drive, like, that was such a weird scene.
Yeah, that was a weird scene. It was a good movie though, all around. I think I enjoyed Good Burger.
Right. If you had to make it into a creepy movie, though, how would you do it? Like, same cast, same kind of situation, but
I think it's interesting that you kind of say that because have you ever watched that episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Are you familiar with that show?
I've never watched it.
There is literally an episode that is basically Good Burger creepypasta. I don't remember the exact what happens, but basically the owner of this like burger joint is some kind of demon, and he basically just turns people into burgers.
Right,
and
that's what I figured would be.
And I just imagine that either the Good Burger competitor would do that, or as a plot twist, Good Burger would be making people into burgers. And then you have Keenan, who's just like a goof around, and it turns out he's actually the leader, grinding people up into burgers.
Well, the thing is, the boss of the competing burger business keeps saying to people, I'm going to put you in the grinder.
Yeah, I mean,
you could easily just make it like, oh, they're making human burgers.
It's not a giant leap to make it a creepy movie. I think you would need to pull like 2 strings, and it's a creepy movie. Add a soundtrack, make it a little darker, make the lighting a little darker, and boom, right. You got yourself a creepy fucking movie. I had I guess a creepy, I guess you would call it like a creepy pasta at work, where we have cameras watching the floor, and I just imagine there's just a naked butter man sitting in the dark, like he's greased up in butter, just watching the cameras. He's completely naked. He's got like a cone on his head, like a dog cone, and he's just watching these cameras, watching these people do their jobs.
How does he watch the cameras with a dog cone on his head?
He bends forward.
Wait, he's watching like the feed from the cameras, or he's looking at the cameras?
He's looking at the cameras.
Oh, okay. He's not watching like the camera feed.
Wait, what? Wait, sorry. What did you say?
He's not like in front of a group of screens, and like he's got camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. He's like on the floor looking up at the camera.
No, he's at a computer like I am right now, and he's bent forward, and he's like bending his head up to look at multiple screens of video, so watching people.
Does he work for?
No. I mean, I guess it's your imagination. Does he work for the company or not? Is he just some creepy man watching the cameras greased up in butter?
Why is he buttered?
I don't know. That sounds creepy to me. Is that not creepy to you, that a man greased up in butter? Like, and I mean like glistening in butter. He's glistening, and he's just covered in butter, just watching you.
I mean, that's really not. No,
he rubs his buttery chest while he watches the cameras.
Creepy to me. I feel like my first assumption would be a security officer who's lost his goddamn mind. Like, his boss would just walk in and be like, Johnson, why are you buttered up again?
Well, that's the thing.
Didn't I tell you the first time? We had to take butter out of the staff room because of you. Where do you keep getting it?
He has to confiscate his butter.
And then Johnson just scoops up all the butter under the desk and scurries out without his uniform because he knows he's fired. You can't come back from that.
How do you get a job after that? You go to like Target, and they have your poster up everywhere now. It's like the greasy butter man.
Oh, you'd have to either be one of those crab fishermen in Alaska, or maybe like an oil drill operator in Alaska.
Yeah.
I mean, really just Alaska.
I think they would accept you. Alaska accepts a lot of what do they call us? The bottom 49?
I wouldn't even know. Yeah, but I don't even know if you could say accepts us. I think it's just that you're so spread out up there that nobody gives a shit.
No, I think they take the rejects. Alaska gets what we don't want.
That's what I'm saying. They take anybody, but it's because there's so few people and they're so spread out that, nobody's going to bother you.
Do you have any favorite like creepypastas or scary stories that you?
I am a fan of really good like lost episode creepypastas. Like, you know, there's a lost episode of SpongeBob where Squidward bleeds out of his eyes.
What? I've never heard of lost episode creepypastas.
It's like creepypastas that are written as if someone has found a lost episode of a show or like a lost video game or like a cursed version of a video game.
I think I've heard like there's a Pokemon version of that.
Right.
With
Or the Majora's Mask one.
Yeah, I think it's called like Ben's Game or Ben Drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm familiar with that one.
It's about a guy who. The story's about a guy that finds a Majora's Mask cartridge at like a garage sale, and it's pre-owned, and it's got a save file on it. It just acts weird.
It was an estate sale.
Oh,
Estate sale.
that's right. I think me and Ashley watched that one.
Right. But there's really few lost episode ones that are good because a lot of them kind of devolve into this. Like, oh, you like while you're watching the episode, you see like a hyper realistic version of your family, but they're all skeletons. Ooh. So it's really hard to pull off, I would say, but there are some good ones out there. If you had to make a creepypasta out of, you know, one of your childhood shows, what would it be?
Out of a childhood show?
That's usually what they do is take like a cartoon show and then
I mean, it's not a creepy.
corrupt it.
It's not a creepypasta, but it has like. I mean, I guess it's not me making it, but the one that comes to mind too is Rugrats, where it turns out that I don't remember all of it. I think
The fan theory where all the babies are in Angelica's mind.
yeah, and I think Tommy is like stillborn. The twins died.
It was something like that. Like, no, I think the twins were a miscarriage, and they didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl, so she imagines them as both.
As twins, yeah.
So that, you know, she can fill in the gaps. That one's kind of similar to the Ed, Edd and Eddy one, where it turns out all the kids are like dead versions of kids from different eras.
Yeah.
So like Rolf is an immigrant in like the 1800s.
Well, that one makes a lot of sense though, too.
Johnny's like a Depression era kid because he has a plank as a toy.
Yeah.
So, you know, you would use whatever you could as a toy. Yeah, that theory's all right. Although it's kind of busted by the movie because I think they do end up visiting Eddie's older brother. He's like the one adult that shows up. Maybe he's the devil.
How would you make a creepy pasta or just a creepy version of like Hey Arnold? How would you do that? I would assume maybe like the grandpa and grandma are something creepy. Maybe they like chop people up.
Something like that. I mean, you could do something even as like, it doesn't even have to be supernaturally creepy. Like, it can just be, you know, that kid that like barricades himself in the office and throws dodgeballs at people. That one episode.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Like, just have that kid like shoot up the school.
That one was weird because it was in a way I feel like it was kind of supposed to be like he was shooting up the school.
It was an analog for it.
Yeah,
I would say.
That one was a little wild. I don't remember how that one gets resolved.
Well, I think the whole thing was he was supposed to be the ball boy, the guy, the guy who takes the balls out at recess, and then his name for some reason got skipped, and the teacher was like, "I mean, I'll just let you do it next week," and the kid's like, "Okay."
Yeah, it gets de-escalated real quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a kid's show. What are you gonna do?
I've got one.
And it really dark. What's up?
Arnold's backstory. How he got his football head shape. His grandpa, when he was a baby, put his head inside a football so it would grow that way.
I mean, that does make sense because if you think about it, everyone else has a normal head. How did he get the football head?
I mean, they really don't, though. Look at Harold's head.
I mean, Harold's just long, though. No one has...
No, you're thinking of Gerald.
Gerald, sorry.
Harold is the bully that has, like, his head straight, and then at the ears it, like, curves out grotesquely.
I guess, but I mean...
But he still gets bullied for it. He still gets called football.
Yeah, he
I mean,
has, like, a legitimate football head,
I would say
though.
most of the characters have extremes to them. Like, some don't. Like, I would say, you know, Helga, Rhonda, Stinky, the little Asian girl that hung out with Helga a lot. They seem pretty normal, but, like, you know, you had Sid. He had the really long nose.
I guess,
that,
but...
like, went up into his cap.
I guess, but to think about it, like, add on to her creepypasta, if you will. Like, so his grandpa put his head in a football to shape like that, but maybe it's this whole district of this town that, like, I don't want to say mutilates these children, but like, how would you put that? Deforms them on purpose.
Right.
Like they make them freaks.
All the adults seem like they're normal.
All the adults have pretty normal heads. All the children have really fucked up
normal heads and normal bodies.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's some.
Maybe what's his face? Is it Stink? No, not Stinky. The kid you were just talking about with his nose in his hat.
Sid.
Maybe Sid was shoved in a tube. Maybe he had his head in a bottle for his childhood.
Right.
Maybe Stinky was in a tube. They put him in like a really big PVC pipe when he was a child.
Remember when Stinky grew that big pumpkin?
Yeah, and they lived in it.
A voice in the sky told him to.
Yeah, and then they lived in it, and then it rotted.
They just made like a clubhouse.
Yeah, they made a clubhouse out of a pumpkin.
Out of a pumpkin.
That was a weird culmination of children in that show. If you really think about it.
Yeah, do you think they were based on the creator's childhood?
Probably not.
Really?
I don't think so. They have a farming family in the middle of New York. I think it's supposed to be New York.
Actually, I've heard it was supposed to be almost. It was amalgamation, I guess would be the word, of New York, Portland, and Seattle, because I think the creator was from here.
Wait, really?
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, like, the city definitely had a New York feel, but I feel like the surrounding landscape was very Washington, Oregon.
On another note, do you know what I think is weird? People who like hot dogs that don't like bologna.
I mean, bologna is just flat hot dog.
Yeah. What?
Bologna's disgusting.
I mean, I like all processed pork products, like bologna, hot dogs, Spam. I don't know. It just. I mean, I get why they're gross. They're processed to shit, and they're full of preservatives, and it's not good for you.
Well, Nico says that hot dogs and bologna are equally processed, and therefore I should like them both.
I just think if you like hot dogs, you should like bologna. Bologna is literally hot dogs in disc form.
No, it's
That's
not.
all it is.
It doesn't.
They're made the same way. If you roll.
To be honest, I go. If I ever eat them, I go for the cheapest of both. So I don't mind.
Oscar Mayer. Does anybody else make bologna?
I'm sure they do, but Oscar Mayer is obviously the one that are known for
Oscar
it.
Mayer capitalized on the bologna market.
There's nothing better than a white bread sandwich with bologna and cheese and mayonnaise, and I know that makes me sound extremely white.
Well, yeah, you forgot the mustard.
Well, they don't know that.
Yeah, they don't know that. For all they know.
Now they do.
I mean, yeah, now they do.
That's our second clue as to where we are and who we are.
I mean, I think you basically said it with Hey Arnold, where we're in either the Seattle area or the Portland area. The jig is up. You just said they're from where we are. So,
well, I mean, we're from there. We're not necessarily there now.
So from all the clues, I'm married and you're white. So there's really only
It's like one of those bad logic puzzles where you cross out, like, the columns are intersected, and you cross out, like, Nico claims he's white and has a wife, and so you, like, cross out, like, Nico's not black and Nico's not. This is getting real. Doesn't
mean he has.
No, it's just like what's that game? Does your person have glasses?
Guess who?
Yeah, that game's sick. It's just profiling. That's all it is. Does your person have this? It's just like a weird description game. Who thought that was fun? I've never thought that was fun. Also, you always had people that were like liars, or they're like, oh no, he doesn't have glasses. He has a fucking monocle or some shit. Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Who did you play with?
I played with assholes. I think I just described them.
You didn't have friends.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't have friends. It was me in the mirror, and I was such a fucking liar. I just lied to myself, just like I do every morning.
What do you lie about? Why do you lie about yourself in the morning?
You know, when you're like, oh man,
today's gonna be a great day.
Today's gonna be a great
I'm gonna tackle life's challenges with ease, and I'm not gonna let them overwhelm me.
I'm not gonna have a breakdown today. It's gonna be fine.
Do you ever just think about, just like letting yourself go?
What do you mean?
Just like taking, like, every vice you would, like, you just basically engage in every vice.
Like Bender in that Futurama episode
kind of,
where
like,
he becomes human.
Even farther than that, like, you're just like, I'm just becoming a gambling, smoking, chain eating, just monster of a human. Like, I'm not gonna live for another 10. I'll live probably max another 10 years, but it'll be, you know, hedonistic. Let's say, do you ever think about going hedonistic?
No, but that does make me think, like, what if you went hedonistic and it just completely worked out for you. Like, you became a gambling addict, but you made like millions of dollars.
He became really huge. Became one of those huge guys that's like really rich, so people kind of
it doesn't
let it go.
It doesn't fucking matter. And then
I feel like that would suck.
And then you're so rich that you can actually buy more time, like through medical procedures or whatever.
But I feel like the older you get, it would become more painful, and I feel like it would eventually just not be worth it.
If you could, would you put yourself in a robot body?
Like my brain and consciousness?
Yeah. Would you put yourself in a robot body?
Ooh. I mean, do I have the ability to shut myself off at some point?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no.
So I'm trapped in this robot body.
No, because I would. Well, you don't know that when you sign the contract.
Again, this just sounds like an episode idea for our Hidden Grove show.
Well, could you imagine a dystopian future where you get put in a robot body, but you don't read the terms of service, and it's a subscription service, so you pay monthly to have this robot body, but instead of...
I feel like it's more like they put you in massive debt, and you have to work off that debt as the robot in like a mining facility, and they're like, hey, after 300 years of work, you'll be free.
You know what makes me think of? It makes me think of that movie, the Repo Man. You remember that? Not Repo Man with...
No, I know, with Jude. You're talking about with Jude Law.
With
and
Jude Law.
Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it would be.
I mean, that movie wasn't very good, but it was an interesting concept.
I liked it. I even liked the twist, but I feel like it almost felt like the twist came too early in the movie.
Yeah, like you knew too soon. Like it was too obvious too soon.
I don't even say that. I just feel like they made way too much of the movie like the fantasy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like about halfway when Forrest Whitaker domes him.
Yeah.
So I feel like if that would have been like maybe the last 20 minutes, I would have liked it more, but it's not, it doesn't break the movie.
But it's also kind of a mid-level movie.
Right. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was all right. Do you feel like we've gotten off I feel like we've talked about a lot of movies.
Yeah, this is going to be the movie episode, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, really, do you think we'll ever have like a structure?
No, I don't think. I don't think so. I think this episode has just been real movie heavy. I just noticed. That's all.
I mean, sometimes your stream of consciousness is just movies.
Have any weird fucking dreams, Kyle?
Not fucking dreams, but I've had several strange dreams. Recently, I had one where I was being attacked by a monkey, a rhesus monkey, which I guess is a fear of mine because monkeys tend to, they go after things. They'll rip your fingers and your toes off. And
I think chimps will do that in general. I think
that's why
primates.
I will never fuck with monkeys.
Yeah, monkeys are fucking scary.
Anyway, so yeah, imagine having a vivid dream where one's in your house and it keeps biting you, and nobody takes it seriously but you. Do you ever have recurring nightmares?
I don't really have recurring nightmares. I have some like weird dreams that I can't recount. I just don't remember them. I remember them the day of, but then pretty much after that, they're pretty fleeting. Typically, they're like I'm dead or people around me are dead.
Right.
And then I wake up. I don't know about terrified is not the right word, but just like anxious.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really have anything that reoccurs to me. Also, on the topic of rhesus monkeys, I just recently...
They're made of chocolate?
Yeah, I just realized... I think you told me this the other day, that they're not... it's not spelled like Reese's Pieces. And I just picture Reese's Pieces monkeys. I don't know if they're made of Reese's Pieces.
They would still terrify me.
If they were made of Reese's Pieces?
Yeah, if they were made of Reese's Pieces.
There was a girl at work who had a scary monkey story, but I guess the vet she worked for had a rhesus monkey, I guess. And
Ellie's just asking to get her face ripped off.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. So you're afraid of them, so maybe you'll side with her. But I guess the monkey didn't have any teeth, if I remember correctly.
It still has arms.
And it was far away from her, and it was screaming, and she was scared. And I guess I'm realizing you're the wrong audience, because you're gonna say it's scary as fuck because it's a fucking monkey.
I would immediately leave. If I ever walked into a room and there's a screaming monkey in there, I don't give a shit. I'm leaving the room. I don't fuck with monkeys.
Just imagine you walking into just a normal room and there's just a monkey on the couch.
I can imagine me going on the Maury show and they're doing one of those weird phobia shows and they're like, bring out the monkeys. And they just like release a pack of rhesus monkeys into the studio and I run. But then they start attacking the audience.
Do they start chasing you?
No, they've got the pickings with the audience. You know, there's a whole audience there.
Really? I just imagine a horror movie where you're running backstage down this long hallway and these monkeys, they're not even just running on the ground, they're like climbing on the walls.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it gets to
Like
some like
somehow they're
horror
on the
movie
ceiling.
shit. Yeah.
That if that ever happened to me in a nightmare, that would suck. Good thing it hasn't.
But then it just, they tackle you and the lead monkey just looks you dead in the eyes and right there is all your hopes, dreams, and fears just right in this monkey's
fingers
eyes.
and toes and nuts being ripped off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fuck monkeys.
Are there any other fears you'd like to share?
Well, I do have recurring dreams where, like, one big one is I'll be somewhere high, like a high place, and there's like
Not stoned.
no, not stone, like a high elevation. Like I've had dreams where I'm on like a staircase that's really tall, and there's no guardrails or anything, and the stairs come to like a curve. And for some reason, you know, I feel comfortable walking down the straight stairs, but once it gets to that curve, I suddenly get extremely scared.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I feel like it's a bigger chance that you'll fall off. But I've also had dreams, you know, where I'm skiing down a very thin mountain and all of a sudden I like fall off the side. I guess you could probably describe those as falling dreams. I've also had these weird dreams where like it feels like there's like a pressure on my teeth. Like it feels like someone's like squeezing my teeth.
Squeezing them?
But in the dream. So I don't know if that's maybe me grinding my teeth in real life or what's going on, because I can definitely like feel it. And I've also had like teeth falling out dreams.
Yeah.
Or like I'll like pull out whole rows of my teeth.
Jesus, in a dream?
In a dream, yeah.
Well, obviously not in real life, I guess.
Well, fucking hopefully not.
You are one of the few people that I know that has like some of the most like vivid, weird dreams.
Yeah.
The dreams you have, I attribute to like I've always called them like fever dreams because they're the dreams I would have when I was sick.
Yeah.
I've had some just normal, just during normal times, fever dreams, but your dreams are by far the most out there, but consistently out there.
Yeah.
Like they're never, I don't feel like you have normal dreams.
Thanks. Another recurring kind of anxiety dream I have is it'll be something like I'm getting ready for work, but something keeps pushing me back, or I keep falling back to sleep in the dream, and then eventually I'm like 3 hours late for work, and I'm like, I've got to leave now, or else I need to get to work, but then like things keep holding me back. I think it's probably because I like fear of being late,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Those suck a lot.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing about dreams like that is when I feel like when you wake up, it's like, oh, that was dumb. But in your dream, you are so anxious and in a hurry. But I guess it's weird because then you forget. The weird thing I think is, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you have a dream where you're either anxious or terrified or something happened to you, but you wake up and that emotion kind of carries with you,
right,
for the first, at least the beginning of the day, if not your whole day, where you're like that whole emotion, whole roller coaster that you went on, in this 6-hour dream world just carries into your life.
Well, like with those late for work dreams, I'll wake up and I'll need to immediately check the time and try to remember, am I late for work? So yeah, the feeling definitely carries over. And like with the teeth thing, I'm like, are all my teeth here?
This podcast started with a dream.
Did it?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact context. Maybe I should have written it down for recounting purposes. But I had a dream, and I just remember waking up and thinking, I can't not do the things I want to do. Like I have to not make something of myself, but I can't just not push forward with my life. Like
right.
when you like stagnate.
Oh, that's me. That's me to a T right now.
Yeah, and you feel like you need to do something. I woke up with that feeling where oh, I can't not do something. I need to.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was podcast, but it was one of those things that hit me, and it didn't go away. I woke up and it didn't go away. The feeling of needing to do something more with my life than just my job.
And whatever we're doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I think the same thing, but the thing I always keep coming back to, not to get like real deep or anything, but like I am extremely afraid of debt. Like going into debt, and then like all I can think is, oh, like what if I immediately lose my job and now suddenly I've got this debt that I can't pay for? You know, it's almost like the unknowns of life are too scary for me.
Well, and I think that's what held me back with like this or lots of things. Like you start adding up all the costs and all the charges, and I think that's one thing I envy from people that make dumb decisions or do like very rash decisions where they just like, when I say dumb, I mean like dumb financial decisions, but they do it
Or just like not even you don't have to say dumb, just like not
wise,
smart. Yeah, exactly.
Wise.
Not wise at the time.
Not wise decisions where people can do that thing where they just pick up and do whatever they want. Like they can just
Or like just start their own business.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for people who can just say fuck it and just start a business without even necessarily considering all of the possible downfalls. And I guess that's something that I want to emulate in my life, to where you do something because you want to, not because you're afraid of the consequences, or you don't let fear hold you back or anxiety hold you back.
Yeah.
There's a little deep run there.
A little deep run there. A little look into our
lives.
Into our mental states and lives.
A little introspective. Now that we've successfully spilled our feelings all over this podcast, do you want to talk about something a little more light, a little more?
Yeah. I mean, you know, we've both been on some international vacations, right?
Yeah. I've been to Japan,
and those are generally, you know, lighthearted. Do you have any good stories from Japan?
Yeah, there was a pretty interesting story where Ashley was in a public restroom and she went to go use the bathroom, but there was a long line, but there appeared to be stalls open at the time. And I guess a woman walked past another, I want to say she was either American or she was a Westerner.
Not Japanese.
She was an old white lady.
She was an old white lady, and she's told the person in front of Ashley, oh, you can go use that one. That one's normal. And it was at that moment that Ashley realized that the toilets that were available were squatty toilets, and the Western women were avoiding them. So Ashley...
Were you just in a bathroom of Western women?
I guess she was. I think it just...
very touristy area.
Yeah, I think
Gotcha.
it just happened that she was in a touristy area and there were a bunch of Westerner women in this bathroom. But I guess, just like a G, she realized that there was toilets available. They just weren't like normal as you think of them, like Western toilets.
Yeah.
They were traditional
toilets. Right. And so she just bumps past because she had to go to the bathroom, and she just uses a squat toilet like it's nothing. And that just made me laugh because I just picture all these women who are too afraid to use this like foreign toilet, and Ashley just pushes past all these people because she's got to go, and the line is ridiculous, all in the name of just using a normal quote unquote toilet. And I get a kick out of that.
I bet those bitches don't even know about Squatty Potty.
Yeah, they have no idea about Squatty Potty. How about you?
Let's see. Well, when I went to Costa Rica, the last night we were there, we somehow our group got we gained two members. Like one of them was an expat who was living in Costa Rica, and I swear to God the other one was like, I don't know what he was, but he was like, he had a bodyguard. Let's put it that way.
Oh, really?
Like he was paying a guy basically to be his bodyguard in Costa Rica. And at some point, and I don't want to talk too much about illegal activities on here, but at some point the subject came up that I was a fan of cannabis, and the bodyguard was like, "Oh, I've got you," and he disappeared for about 10 minutes, and he comes back with like a little like plastic jar of just cannabis, and I was like, "Oh, thanks." And so then I had to empty a couple cigarettes and just fill them with ground up marijuana.
Did you pay him, or did he
No,
just did he?
They didn't want payment. Like, even we actually, again, this I don't want to get too weird here, but we ended up going to a strip club, and I tried to grab his, like, I tried to get a dance for his bodyguard, and they're like, no, we don't need that. And I was like, okay.
So they just hooked you up in Costa Rica with some weed.
Yeah, and we ate at an Italian restaurant with them. An Italian restaurant in Costa Rica.
How was that? How was an Italian restaurant in Costa Rica? What was that like?
I actually don't really remember.
Because you were too high from the weed you just from the weed you were just shared with.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it was weird.
What about the UK or Amsterdam? You've been there too, right?
Yeah. Britain was all right. If you can handle the British accent.
Do you not like the British accent?
It can get tiring.
Really?
Not. I really don't want to.
Not in like a xenophobic way.
Yeah, like not in like an I hate British people way, but it's just it almost becomes a stereotype after a while. I mean, the British are lovely.
What do you mean it becomes a stereotype after a while?
Oh, you just hear things said or in like that accent that just sound like I heard people say to other people like, "You're a disgrace to the country." And just like, I don't know, like that seems to be a big thing over there.
Oh, like to other British people, like they were just that's like one of their insults.
People just get in like verbal arguments, and they just start talking about like how disgraceful the other person is to the country, and like I get that that's an insult, but it's like I wouldn't like if somebody said you're a disgrace to the United States, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, that is a little. It's different. It's like a different kind of culture,
which is fine. But as far as stories go from Britain, I remember. God, what do I remember from Britain? I don't remember much from Britain. Amsterdam, though, was a completely different experience because they've got, a lot of things are in Dutch, but like they also know a lot of English.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this weird half and half. You know what I actually noticed a lot in those two places is that there's a lot of people who just sleep outside, like just quick nap.
Wait, really?
Yeah, but I feel like you couldn't get away with that here. Like I feel like if you try to take like a nap outside, people just assume you're homeless.
I mean, I would just be afraid to take a nap outside in the U.S.
Right, but in like Amsterdam, people are just taking naps like just on the piers on the river, or just outside of like just on benches. But again, they didn't they weren't obviously homeless. They were just people just taking a nap.
Now I just picture like a really well-to-do businessman, and he's just like, God, I need a nap.
I mean, I thought that was a thing in like Japan. Like I thought businessmen would take naps wherever. Or like I feel like I've seen pictures and videos of businessmen just like chilling out on the sidewalk.
They nap on the subway and they nap at work.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if I really noticed any napping people, but I tried also not to like not stare too long in any one direction. Like I didn't want to stare at people. But their convenience stores are dope, though.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. It's not really related to anything you were saying, but.
The other funny thing I guess about Amsterdam is that one of the nights we were there, it was me and my brother. We were like heading back to our hotel, and we grabbed McDonald's on the way, and we just got like a huge sack of stuff. And I just happened to comment like, "Isn't this great that we're two Americans, it's almost as far away from home as we can be, and we still go for McDonald's?"
Yeah, but I think there's something fun about eating. Especially like American fast food. Like that's one thing that I ate when we were in Japan was I really wanted to go to a Japanese McDonald's just to experience the different tastes, and they have also like different things at McDonald's.
I was actually coincidentally reading about Japanese McDonald's today, and like they have maybe you can confirm this. I read about a burger that has like the egg McMuffin egg on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have like they have a couple different croquette burgers, like potato croquette or shrimp. Or sorry, one of them is like shrimp / crab katsu burger.
Yeah, it's weird. So I picked something really quick, and it was the burger with the egg on top. And I realized how, when you get annoyed when people are at like a fast food restaurant or like a Starbucks or something, and they're taking forever, like how long do you have to fucking look at this fucking menu?
There's
It's not
nothing
that fucking
pisses me
hard.
off more the people who make like giant with special instruction orders in the drive-through. Like that's not what it's for.
Yeah,
it's for a quick order that you can just grab and go.
Well, or asking a bunch of questions about the menu. So that being said, in Japan though, it's uncomfortable because I feel like you're in that same environment, but you don't speak the language. So you just kind of like, I want this and this, thank you, and then that's it. Like I would have definitely explored the menu more, except it's like it was a really fast-paced.
Right.
It's a McDonald's. It's no different than it is here. Maybe even busier. It's basically just a busy McDonald's.
Did you find that like there were a lot of places where you kind of had to do the pointed out thing, or was there a decent amount of like fluency in English for them?
No, it's mostly it's a lot of pointing.
Okay.
I think the most English conversation we had was with our taxi driver, who was super enthused that we were from Seattle.
Nice.
Talk about each.
Yeah,
Oh,
we had people mention Ichiro at least 3 times, if not 4 times, and they were one lady in Kyoto said, "Oh, thanks for having him." Like she was thanking us for basically fostering Ichiro as if we personally had him living in our home. And the taxi driver, he was just talking about how, I think he even mentioned how we took Ichiro from them, or like kind of like sad in a sad way, not in like a joking way, but yeah, a lot of people mentioning Ichiro.
I like how I kept it vague with Seattle or Portland, and you just confirm we are from Seattle.
Yeah, we're from Seattle. It's out now.
We're in Seattle right now.
Yeah, right on
We're
top.
in the stadium.
Right on.
You live from Seattle.
That'll trick them.
Yeah, that'll trick them when we tell them we're live, but we're actually not live.
Yeah, this is obviously a pre-recording.
That's nuts. Could you imagine if this was a pre-recording from like 5 years ago and we're just now airing this podcast?
Like we found our lost hard drive.
Yeah, or like one of us died.
What if that did happen?
What if one of us is dead?
Check your local obituaries, people.
Oh my God! Could you? There's a story for you. You're airing a podcast 5 years in the future, and one of the members is dead, but nobody knows that, and people grow attached to you and I. They're like, oh, I really appreciate their thoughts and feelings on things. It's like, oh, I hope I get to meet them someday, but you never get to meet one of them because that person's dead, and it turns out this has all been just a giant ruse. I guess I don't even know if it would be a ruse. It's just like we've been recording these for years.
Yeah.
And then finally one of us airs them after the other one's death because we agreed never to air them. And then as like I don't know what you would call that, in memory of, you start airing them silently and they pick up traction. It just sounds like a weird, almost.
I'm trying to think.
It reminds me.
If that would be like, what can make it creepier though?
It reminds me a little of what was that movie with Gerard Butler where he was?
Oh, Gamer.
No, the one where he writes the love letter.
No. You're thinking of the one where he's in jail and he's killing a bunch of people.
Isn't that Gamer?
No, it's like something citizen, an enraged citizen or something like that.
No, I'm thinking of the one where it's like I don't think it's P.S. I love you. Maybe it's P.S. I love you.
What about it though?
Oh, he just writes her like a love letter or whatever, but he gives it to her, like she gets it after his death.
I mean, there was also that, like, it sounds kind of like the Lake House with Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves. They have like a.
Go on, sorry.
Well, they just like send each other mail, I guess, through I don't know if it's a magic mailbox or like what's going on. But then I think in the end, like Keanu dies or something.
In the end, he dies, or he was dead the whole time.
It's something like that. Like he gets hit by a car, when they're supposed to meet, because he like lives 2 years in the past, I guess.
See, that's funny because there's a wild anime that's called
Naruto.
Yeah, no, it's on Naruto.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically this guy he goes to this town in Japan, and
Your name.
Oh yeah,
Your Name?
No, is it just Your Name?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
Your Name.
at the end, they see each other and they're like, "What's?" And then it says Your Name.
Yeah, because it turns out that you find out that they're basically separated by time, but because of...
And she got hit by a fucking meteor.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the way... I don't know if it's the planets align or whatever, but he's able to see her during a time, and then he finds out that she was dead.
Yeah.
And then there's like this whole to-do about it, and then at the very end, they cross paths somehow.
Well, like she somehow realizes what's going to happen, so she ends up saving her town, and then... But like they never meet until they're both in Tokyo, because they've grown up into like, you know, careers. And so yeah, they pass each other on the stairs at one point, like in a subway, and they have like a flash of, "I know you," and so they turn around and say, you know, "What is your name?"
Yeah, that's a wild one. It's also it's kind of sad. I guess it ends on a happy note.
Yeah.
What do you have any other like animes that you find are wild or out there? Is there any that you can think of?
I'm a big fan of cyberpunk animes. Like they're what is it called? Like, you know, like Cowboy Bebop, I guess, would be kind of one, although takes place in outer space, but I think you could kind of consider it one.
Yeah.
Some of the cyberpunk, I'm looking up some of the ones I've watched before. There's one called Cyber City 080. It was only, I want to say, 3 episodes, and it was almost like Suicide Squad, where there's like these 3 criminals that the government, you know, basically give jobs, like bounties.
Yeah.
And they have like a Suicide Squad, they have exploding collars. So I remember there was one where they're like, it's like a super tall, like a building that reaches into space. And somebody like hacks into it's got like a computer that runs it, so like, you know, the building stays stable. Like it has some sort of system in its basement or whatever
so that it doesn't fall down.
Counterbalances it, yeah. And so somebody hacks into it and basically the building starts collapsing, but it's so tall that, you know, it takes an hour to collapse. So they're sent to kind of save the building before it falls all the way.
Yeah.
There's also an episode in there about they find what appears to be a vampire lady, and one of the bad guys falls in love with her, but in the end I think they have to like cryo freeze her and send her out to space because she's too dangerous or something.
The vampire lady's too dangerous?
Yeah. But I like that concept of like vampires and cyberpunk. There was also Ghost in the Shell. That's a pretty popular one. Bubblegum Crisis is a great one. That's about like a group of ladies who have robot suits that fight robots that have kind of been corrupted. And that's real cyberpunk because like the leader, her like cover story is that she owns, I want to say, a boutique. Mm-hmm. And like one of the girls is a police dispatch. So she has access to police, you know, scanners and stuff.
Yeah.
And one of them's, you know, like a rocker chick. And the third one is like a corporate girl. So, you know, like a bunch of the kind of cyberpunk stereotypes put together.
Yeah. You know, is it kind of like a not like Sailor Moon, but it sounds a little,
I mean, honestly,
like Power Rangers Sailor Moon, right. Kind of normal life meets crime fighting, or I don't know if it's crime fighting, but fighting of some sort. I also just like the name Bubblegum Crisis.
Yeah, I do too.
It just makes me think of like there's a crisis, but for bubblegum, like the stock market's crashing, like the bubblegum, it's a bubblegum crisis. There's no more bubblegum. You can't find any anywhere.
Wouldn't that suck?
If there was no more bubblegum?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big gum fan.
I mean, suddenly it's all gone.
I mean, that wouldn't bother me. I don't remember the last time I ate gum.
Alright, that's it. If you would like to support the podcast, we have a Patreon with some extra goodies, or you can directly support us through the link in the description. Thank you. You know, I think that went really well. What do you mean the mic's still on?